Christine Drazan,
Good
right?
to be here.
Yes.
Thanks for
Oh my
having me.
goodness. Yes. Thank you for coming on this last minute.
Happy
You
to.
just spoke on stage at the
Hmm.
Dorchester. You got, what was it? Was it a Rising Star?
Yes,
Which
fancy award.
which you've been. You've. I feel like you've risen, but
Maybe it's the bounce back.
yeah, yeah. Well, what I liked most about your speech, and I'm going to thank our sponsors first. SMI Real Estate, thank you so much, and Saltwater Wellness, thank you so much for being sponsors. We appreciate it, and couldn't do this without you. What I appreciated so much about your speech was I have always found myself as a huge underdog in everything I
Mm,
do,
mm,
and I even being an underdog and not having quote unquote the odds. You know, the
yeah.
odds are stacked against me. I still always think that I can win. I never lose hope and I never lose faith. And
Mm,
that is something that you can't take from me. Even if I'm playing a guy that's a scratch golfer on a golf course, I still think that it give me a handicap maybe, but I still think that I can beat this guy every hole. You know, and you walk into the approach with confidence every day, and
mm.
that's something that I got from you is you're not willing to lay down easily and to quit.
No, I actually feel like you do.
Hmm.
That the odds are not the thing that's going to stop me.
Yeah,
And I think for Oregonians, I think the odds are stacked against anybody that feels like they're not heard right now. People that feel like the things that are happening in their neighborhoods, that it could be better. And they're just confused why it's still so tough.
hmm.
I think that the Oregonians that are out there that I think I resonate with are the ones that just are living their lives, doing the best they can, no matter what. And they're not looking around saying it's somebody else's job to fix it. But I want to be the person that stands in that gap and says, there's got to be something we can do. It's got to get better. And
Yeah,
I want to be a part of that. But there are certainly Oregonians out there that are feeling like this is really hard. This is
hmm.
really harder than it has to be. And they're still doing the thing. They're putting one foot in front of the other. They're saying, yeah, the odds are against me, but I still think I can win.
If you're an Oregonian and you're pretty distraught with what's going on, why not quit?
I don't think it's in us as Oregonians.
Yeah,
I think that Oregonians are just, put your head down and put your shoulder to the wheel.
yeah,
I don't see my fellow Oregonians as people that are anything but um, just hardworking
yeah.
and super focused and determined. And so I don't think that we've got quit in us. And that's really what my speech was about.
Hmm.
That we have work to do. There's no doubt we've got work to do,
Yeah,
and but that we are the people that need to step into that and say, I'm not going to complain. Like, this is hard. It's hard. It's hard for everybody,
yeah.
but we can fix this. This is 100% fixable.
What are some of the details of what you would like to fix? What would happen? Paint me a picture for what you'd like to see change. I mean, like right, the first couple months, if you did get into office, if you did
Yeah.
get that position.
My heart is always for people. I'm always
Yeah,
rooting for people.
yeah.
And so I have 3 kids,
Hmm.
and so schools matter an awful lot to me. And so I'm rooting for the kids that are not succeeding today in our schools and are being left behind in a way that they're just being passed along and passed along and passed along. I just read an article about a kid that sued his school because he graduated and he couldn't read. And that, to me, that wasn't in Oregon, but that to me is the moment, right? Where
Yeah,
you say our system is broken when it's not serving the people it's supposed to serve.
yeah.
So that matters to me.
Hmm.
And then when I look around at the challenges that we have across our state for addiction, where we have had this attitude like, hey, it's their decision, you know,
Yeah.
and we're just when they're ready,
Hmm.
when they're ready, they'll get clean. Yeah, and also it's called addiction for a reason.
Yeah.
This is no small thing. This is a big deal. and they need people to help them. They need, that was my thing tonight, was I believe that connections to family matter. And I think that the people that are on their streets right now, I hear from people all the time that tell me, I am searching for my son. He was last seen on Burnside at this time. And then they go and he's gone.
Yeah.
And I just think we have so much technology, we have so much interaction with these populations from hundreds of nonprofits. Is there some way to connect these families that are searching and looking for their loved ones with our systems that are trying to serve their family members?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that that person's going to get clean right away. It's not to say that person's going to pop in, that passenger seat of their car and go home and everything's fine. That's not it. But that point of connection means that when that person is ready, then there's a family member there to say, I got you. I am so proud of you. I'm going to do this. We're with you.
It's beautiful.
So I think it's possible. And I think if we look at homelessness, like we have to count noses and then we have to build a bunch of tiny homes or hand out tents. I just don't think that's the solution.
Spend a bunch of the state's money or something.
Billions and billions and billions and billions.
Yeah, and we could get on a whole tangent of that. Tell me, this is something that I struggle with and that I just came to my mind. What about public schools? Why are people scared now to send their kids through public schools? Let's just point the facts out. And two, the alternative cannot be everyone homeschool, or it just feels like you're protecting your children if you by homeschooling them or by sending them to a private school. It feels like that's the only option for a lot of faith-based parents.
I think that's true right now. I think that public schools are oppositional to families. They're certainly oppositional to faith. They're certainly oppositional to conservative values. And I don't know how we got here. But if you ever have time on your hands, you can sign up for the updates and the newsletters from the Department of Education, and you can sign up by issue area. And it will tell you what kinds of curriculum they're developing for the classroom for students. And it'll tell you what initiatives are starting in the classroom. And I can tell you, as a policymaker that reads that kind of thing, the vast majority of it has nothing to do with helping students read, write, do math. It's the vast majority of it is under a category that they call social emotional wellness. And it's really about the parts of school that are not academic. And there's a long list of other issues that are what I view as agenda driven that I don't think should be in the classroom. Just the reason families have made those decisions is because they have seen what the schools are sending home with their kids, and they don't feel like they can always be there to make sure that it's appropriate for their families. And so they're making other decisions if they can afford to make those decisions. I mean, private school is expensive.
Yeah.
Homeschooling takes a lot of time. And as policymakers, we have a constitutional duty to provide public schools for students in Oregon. It's an affirmative mandate in our Constitution to provide a common system of schools. And so that, I take that everybody as seriously as I do protecting our Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
We have to have public schools. Our public schools need reformed.
Yeah.
They need to get back to serving kids and helping them learn to read, not indoctrinating them. Educating, not indoctrinating. That should not be complicated. But we are now at the point where it is really blurry in the classroom. And good teachers that are there for the right reasons, it's blurry for them, for how they approach the classroom and students.
That's so good. I appreciate your segment on that, and it's just needed. It's needed to know that we need to bring solutions to the table, because that, I would say, that is probably one of the most specific reasons that a lot of people are leaving to Idaho, to Arizona, and to Florida, or wherever, or just completely uprooting from their roots here and going elsewhere is education, and that, I think about a biology class, and I'm not going to try to get too harsh with this, but the curriculum that you're learning is someone's subjective opinion on where we came from, what we did, and whatnot. And we
Yeah.
this country was premised off of roots, faith-based roots and whatnot, which I can
Mm-hmm.
appreciate, and I appreciate if you don't. But
Mm-hmm.
for them to be in your biology books and pushing that and
Mm-hmm.
telling, nurturing, and grooming essentially into now we all believe this one thing. This is where we came from, the Big Bang. That is the same exact thing as if I were to teach Christianity, Islam,
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism, whatever. I mean, that we were taught that, and so I remember sitting in sophomore year in high school and just fuming almost
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't seem fair.
Mm-hmm. So, what did you do?
I asked questions.
Mm.
I asked a lot of questions.
Did you
I
feel
tested.
heard?
Uh, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up being a leader in wild, in Young Life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And any one of the cool things that Young Life does is they find kids that aren't necessarily invited to the party, that aren't
Mm-hmm.
invited to the game, that aren't invited to the, and they bring them in, and they provide them a place, a safe place that
Mm-hmm.
you call them by name and you know them
Mm-hmm.
and you remember them and you might pick them up and you might bring them to that and then you might show them love that they wouldn't see at home or that they wouldn't see in the cafeteria or they wouldn't see in the gym class. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I got the opportunity to talk about that.
I love that.
So Oregon is one of the toughest places to do business because of regulations that they have inflicted on huge corporations, businesses, even small businesses. What would you do to change to make it more business friendly?
Yeah. We have got to recognize that we need business in Oregon. We need a strong economy in the private sector. We need jobs in the
Yeah.
private sector. We recently got a report showing that job growth in Oregon has been in education and healthcare,
Mm.
fields that are funded with tax dollars instead of fields that are funded with private sector activity.
Wow.
And so the parts where we're losing jobs in Oregon have been in things like manufacturing. I
Yeah.
mean, just a traditional like drive the economy kinds of jobs in our state are shrinking.
Mm.
And so, we have got to get our arms around the regulatory environment here. So most people don't live their lives realizing that they are in fact impacted by 40,000 Oregon administrative rules that have been adopted in our state. We have more administrative rules, which I consider sort of shadow laws passed by agencies, unelected folks adopt these rules. We have more rules than we do actual statutes and laws in the state of Oregon,
Wow.
and so it layers. It has like a crushing effect on businesses where somebody that will want to start a small business, the hoops that they have to go through based on what jurisdiction they live in can be extraordinary. The kind of business can create an extraordinary burden for them and a barrier.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about housing and how important it is that we have housing that is built. And I would say the fact that to get that done, we're having to create special carve outs in the regulatory environment just for that sector because it is it is just suffocating our ability to actually produce the houses that we need to be able to lower costs.
Yeah.
We're doing it for housing. We need to do it across the board. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at any industry out there that's doing work with their hands, they are overregulated. And so, we need our industries to be able to step up and say, this regulatory burden should be reduced here and here and here. And actually, what we'd really need to do is we need to have the equivalent of like a hotline, a
Oh
website,
yeah.
like
Oh
tell me
yeah.
all about it. Tell me all about it. Give me more, give me more, give me more.
Yeah.
Because it's the industries themselves that know the pinch points and the areas where they're being regulated that it's not serving safety or it's not serving the public. That has got to go away.
You should hear what builders have to say
Oh,
regarding this, and because you said that they kind of deregulated some things.
they're trying. They are
They're
talking.
trying
Yeah, they're
to,
trying. Yeah.
but there's builders that say they lose $1 million on every I think 25 lot subdivision because they have to put in, and I think this is good.
The mandate
Yeah,
part.
but there's mandates that just
Mm-hmm.
that cut away from their bottom line, that cut away from the growth of their companies,
Makes the
and
project
it's
not pencil.
yes,
Makes the project not pencil. You know, I heard from a constituent in my district, and they do 80% of their work in my county, which is Clackamas County.
yeah,
And they primarily build like pole building style buildings. They said, dealing with my county, they used to be able to go to the planning division, walk in the door where people were actually in the office, and they could get all of their permits that they needed for that project in one day.
yeah,
So they talk to all the people, they have their permits, they go build their basically a very simple structure, a pole barn somewhere.
sure,
Now, people are not in the office. And the regulatory environment has changed so dramatically that those permits that were required to do the same building used to take one day, now take 6 to 8 weeks. And 6 to 8 weeks, time is money.
that is ridiculous.
And the complexity and the follow up and talking to our county commissioners about it and hearing back from staff and saying, okay, how can we fix this? How can we reduce the regulatory burden for these businesses?
Yeah,
Because it's impacting their ability to do work in this jurisdiction. They're going to choose somewhere else to begin to identify climates and grow their customers. And grow their client base in other places. If our county is suddenly going to become so onerous for them to work with, they don't have to do their business model doesn't have to look the way it does.
yeah,
And so if we can't get them some relief, they might pivot, and that means that building in my county that's needed is someone else is going to have to do it that's willing to have the additional cost associated with it to be
Yeah.
able to manage the time that it's going to take to get that permitting done.
and that's risky.
There's a lot of work to be done in
Sure.
this area.
Yeah. Well, to close this, we don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you so much again for joining. But to close this out, because this is a business podcast, we've talked quite a bit about the last little bit business. What would you say impacts the small business? Maybe the big and small, but what would you say are some quick fixes as soon as you get in that you would change
Well-
that would affect them?
I believe that we really do need to lower the cost of living
Yeah.
and make our state a more affordable place to do business at all and to live at all. That helps their employees. That helps their bottom line. And so when we reduce fees, when we reduce taxes, when we reduce the regulatory burden, period,
Yeah.
that helps all of these businesses have a much stronger position in the market, makes them more competitive, allows them the opportunity to plan and grow. That kind of stability where you're not constantly throwing more at them to manage really, really will help business long term. And from the businesses I've heard with, it's those kind of basic principles that say, what does business need? They need certainty. And oh, by the way, they need less regulations, less rules, and the ability to be able to plan.
Feels like Oregon sometimes just needs to loosen its grip a little
It
bit.
needs to loosen his grip.
Yeah, just so in
Agreed.
control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once again, thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you for
have you
having
on
me.
again.
It's
But
great to be here.
yes, we appreciate you. And thank you guys for joining the Salem Business Journal podcast. Once again, thank you to SMI Real Estate and Saltwater Wellness. We appreciate your guys' support. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for